This is Real Talk, the Customer Insights Show with Jenn Vogel. Join Jenn and her guests for this live discussion around topics that will help you understand your customers better. Also available on podcast channels. This live stream is presented to you by Vox PopMe, the leader in video research. Here's today's live conversation.
Hello, insights professionals, marketers, and everyone who wants to understand their customers better. I'm Jenn Vogel, and today I'm joined by Ashley Shelley, Senior Manager of Consumer Insights at Dish Network. Ashley's team successfully uses video surveys to understand their customers and make decisions. So let's find out how. Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you here today. Welcome back after a nice long weekend. I hope you had a nice break.
Yes, I did. I hope you did as well. No
Definitely.
rain.
We did have a bit of rain, but you know what? We powered through and we had a nice long weekend. So we're hitting the ground running, ready to get going for the week.
Yep, here we are.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. To kind of kick off the conversation, I'd love for you to just tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your role at Dish.
Yeah, of course. So I started out in the market research industry almost 14 years ago. And I started working at an advertising research firm. And I stayed there because I loved it, and I actually still love it. Stayed there for almost 12 years and then decided it was time to make a switch from supplier side over to client side. So I joined Dish, 2 years ago now, just about. And yeah, I've been here ever since. And just it's been a wild ride already in just the past couple of years.
Yeah, I bet that's quite a big shift from, the agency side to the client side. How has that been? How's that transition been for you?
It's been good. It's I would say busier on at least for me on the client side, a lot more meetings. It's different too to go from a firm where we were all researchers and everyone's like, yay, research. And then coming over here in a larger corporation and being like, how do I get everyone else excited for research like I am, right? And so that can sometimes be a challenge. It's sometimes a fun challenge, right? But very, very different. So I'm enjoying it so far, and nice to have kind of a balance of both.
Yeah, that's really interesting of this, like being in an environment where everyone's excited about research and then to have to say, no, this is really cool. Check this out on a day-to-day. So I'm sure we'll dig deeper in that later on in the conversation. That'll be interesting to learn more about. I want to hear about kind of the different ways that you and your team are using video surveys. And I know there's some others on other teams that are using it also. Dish was one of the winners of our video awards earlier in the year, one of your colleagues. So yeah, tell us a little bit about how you're using video surveys.
Oh gosh, so we use them in a variety of different ways. So it might be something where we just ask simple questions, 1 to 3 questions, just trying to get a pulse on the industry, on our brand, or kind of suite of brands with Dish and Sling and Boost now. And though sometimes too, we also show STEM, right? So we want to have different stimuli. It could be a concept or something that we're thinking of putting out into the world that we want to test out first with actual consumers. I also use video surveys as a complement sometimes to a quantitative project I'm working on, just to add some color and some newness and freshness. And, it's always more digestible to watch things come right out of I shouldn't say the horse's mouth, the consumer's mouth, in this case, a human's mouth, than to just, have just numbers and charts and graphs and data dump type of thing. So, and again, going back to what I said before, especially now being client side and trying to get people excited about the research and not scared of research. You see that sometimes too. So yeah, that's how we use the surveys, but yeah, and just across all brands, I think we've even used them, one of our brands, for testimonials on our social. We've done ad testing, really, really the gamut. And although I really know and think there's probably a lot more ways that we could even use it. So always trying to use more. And now that the DIY tool is live, it's so much easier and I just love it. I can launch a survey at 9 a.m. and have responses in the afternoon. It blows my mind, honestly. It still does that I'm sitting here in Denver and like, oh, I have a business question. Put it out into the world, and in the afternoon, some, guy from Arkansas who's 60 years old is answering my question. It blows my mind. It does. Oh, I lost you. I lost your sound. Mm-mm. Okay.
Hopefully she'll be right back.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
I've been having some trouble with my audio, so welcome to our technical difficulty. Hopefully that wasn't as long as it felt in my mind.
No, your computer is tired after the 3-day weekend too, I'm sure.
I think so. It's like we're not ready to get back into it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was just saying, like, hearing your excitement about, getting that feedback is, probably helps to translate into the others in the organization that you're trying to translate that excitement to, of like, look, we're hearing directly from consumers in such a short time. Like, that's incredible.
Yes. And I started using, when I came onto Dish, our team had used partnered with Vox Pop Me for, I think, a year before. And so when I came over, I was like, oh, okay, we have very few partners at Dish. We do 80% of our work is custom research. And so I learned we were working with Vox Pop Me, and I did my very first, or fielded my first survey within my first month here. And I got, everything came back, and I made my little show reel and was kind of showing everyone in the organization. And one of my colleagues was watching it over my shoulder, and she just looked at me. She said, "This is pure gold. That's pure gold." And I was like, it really, really is, just to hear people just talking to you, and from the comfort of their own homes, sometimes in their cars. But yeah, it's just been such a different way to, rather than just asking open ends and pasting items into a deck or something. So much better.
Yeah, it can be really powerful. And I want to hear a little bit more about, like, you talked about some of the different ways you're using video surveys, just those like kind of general survey questions to get a pulse on the market, to understand what's important to people. Like, how are you using the data that comes out of those questions that aren't necessarily specifically tied to, an objective or a product or something like that? Like, how do you use those results?
Yeah, I think we still share them out as widely as we can. We don't ever want all of the great info we have to be, live in a silo. We want to share it out. And so even if it's just a general getting a pulse, I'll still put together my handy dandy show reel, which again, I am obsessed with. And generally I'll share that out with just a one slide of kind of what I heard, what we learned, with a video. And that often is enough to still get people excited. And I'll have all different requests. Oh, can you send me that show reel? I heard about it. So yeah, just in a variety of different ways. There's so many ways to use the tool, and it's important. I think sometimes we might forget to use Vox Pop Me. We're like, wait, we should use Vox Pop Me for this, and and hear it from people. And I think too, a lot of our customers tend to be rural, and so it's not people we can just go talk to on the street or something here in Denver. And how cool that we can see, get the thoughts, perceptions, behaviors, all of these things from customers who live on the other side of the country, or, and I guess on the other side of the country, you guys aren't so rural, but you know what I mean, So just such a great, and they're not having to travel to focus group facilities far away, drive 2 hours. And it's just, it's such a neat tool.
That's great. Yeah. And just having those kind of regular check-ins with the people that you care about and being able to share that out more broadly, it just gives you kind of more of a closeness with the people that are, using your services,
Mm-hmm.
on a more regular basis, which is obviously we're big believers in.
Yes.
And so, I mean, you talked about the first time you did a video survey when you joined Dish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was the catalyst for that? Like, what was why did you get started with it? Or in those moments where you're like, oh, we forgot we could leverage Vox Pop Me, we could do a video survey. Like, why do you then go and add that in?
I think one of the first times, I think what I'm referring to in the first project, I believe that was something around a concept or maybe pronunciation. It was something that we felt like had to be answered with someone actually giving us the response, right? It couldn't be, we couldn't do it in a quant survey. And so that was kind of the catalyst for that one. And then, and again, just these harder to reach demographics. So, sometimes we're looking for older consumers and in finding them. And you guys have a great panel, like a great panel of older consumers as well. And even like sometimes looking for Spanish speakers, that as well. So, those have been a lot of the situations. But again, like I really do a lot of times someone comes to me with a question about something and I'm like, well, I can get you some nice video feedback on that. And it's your target consumer. You're looking at them talking to you. I feel like it's just such a more believable, I don't know. I know hard numbers are great, and I'm a quant and qual researcher, so I firmly believe in numbers as well. But it's just such a great way to make it more human, because I really want our industry to be more human and to, it's kind of like storytelling has, been a buzzword for many years now, but truly conveying the information in a storytelling way, in a real way, in a human way that people can latch onto. So, and again, it's just, yeah, sometimes it's spur of the moment. What are we gonna, I have a question about this. Bam, right there for you. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And in your experience previously, you were doing all advertising testing. Was that primarily quant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is
Primarily quant.
a big transition to be adding qualitative into your kind of day to day.
Yes, very much so. And don't anyone come after me, please. But in the past, especially when I would hear the word agile with the word research, I was really skeptic. Like I had a lot of skepticism with it because I thought I would have to sacrifice the integrity of the research, or the depth of the research, because how could it be so quick, right? In the copy testing world, it was, a 3 to 4 week timeline. And a good portion of that, of course, we were in field, but a good portion was doing the analysis and really digging deep into the data. And so I've always thought, well, how can Agile really do that? And for me, Vox Pop Me changed my mind about it, because, and I know it sounds like I'm like a public service announcement, but it really did, because I feel like with video surveys, we're not sacrificing anything, not quality, none of it. And so that to me was a game changer coming from the previous life. And again, I still love ad testing and love research, and still love my former company as well. But coming over here, it's just, I think too, on the client side, I feel personally like things move a lot faster. Like decisions need to be made, things are happening. And so what a perfect tool, to be able to do agile research. And again, we still use traditional as well, but to get that quick answer, because, too, we really want to influence decisions with research. And my team is very passionate about that. And so, if we can get quick responses, quality responses to help someone on our team or in the larger team make decisions, that's what we're going for.
Yeah, absolutely. And how important is that speed, getting those results really quickly? Because you mentioned you do, some traditional research, and in the past you've done things that are 3-4 week timelines. How important is it balancing that, getting some stuff back, that afternoon when you've launched it in the morning?
Yeah, I mean, it can help in a variety of ways. It can sometimes even help us launch a quant project based on what we might learn, like kind of feeling people out in the Vox Pop Me research. And from there, kind of seeing what people are hearing to even maybe craft the next phase of research. And so to have that so quickly, again, just with things happening so fast. Oh, and you know, of course, how could I not mention during COVID, we were just trying to test everything so quickly, as I'm sure everyone was, like, how is this message going to resonate? Or, you know, different things like that. What, you know, a specific ad that we wanted to look at that was geared toward COVID at the time. And so to have that speed was crucial, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really interesting you talk about, you know, using the qualitative response to kind of craft what your quant study looks like. I guess how does that impact the quant work that you're doing? Do you feel like it provides for better quality quantitative work?
Oh, for sure. I think, and I've always been a fan of, I don't know if it's the more traditional way of doing qual before quant. I think sometimes people switch it around, but I love that. And to be able to do it quickly in this way, it's just, sometimes you feel like you're starting at ground zero with a survey or some research. And so to be able to understand kind of what people are thinking about what specific questions you might want to ask in your survey, I think really helps from hearing what people are saying, because so many times, you know, we try to put ourselves in our consumers' shoes as much as possible, but oftentimes we're quite different than them. And so it's important to know what they're really thinking and feeling. And I'm not just speaking to myself in my research, you know?
Yeah, totally. I forget who it was that I was talking to on one episode of the show where they were like, you know, nobody else thinks about our product as much as we do. You know, people, if you're working in a cereal business,
Right.
nobody's like thinking about cereal the way that we do. And so that definitely comes through when you're designing research, is, you know, or really anything, even on the marketing side, when you're designing messaging. You know, I'm closer to the Vox Pop Me brand than any of our customers are, right? So it's so important to put yourselves in their shoes to think about what's going to resonate with them.
Exactly. And the landscape is really changing in our industry. So the way people are watching TV is changing. You know, we have our satellite brand, but we also have our live streaming. People are, you know, these days maybe doing a mix of both. And so it's extra important that we know what's going on. I feel like COVID changed TV viewing habits, right? And now we're coming out, so what's next? And so that's, you know, another great way to use video surveys, is to try to figure out best you can without doing real modeling, what's coming next.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right? For everybody.
I know. Oh gosh, I know.
If we could only predict the future.
I know.
And so you talked a little bit about kind of sharing these results out with people who are making decisions. Like how does that work? How do you typically share out those results?
Yeah, so, you know, it's funny, again, coming from supplier side, and I would send my client, you know, a 50-page report, which they, you know, on a consumer insights team is fine. Although now that I say that, I'd probably prefer closer to 30 these days. But anyway, but then the client would come back and say, hey, can you put together this incredibly short executive deck? And I'd always be like, okay, I have to really synthesize this down, right? And so then I came over again to client side and realized just how important that is, not just for executives, but again, these are non-researchers most of the time. And so I often, you know, we're a Google company, so I'm sharing on Google, you know, when I make my show reel. And I think I said this before, but I also just have like a one pager, and then the next page is the video, and that's it. And I feel like that can still, you know, convey the insights you want to convey. And, you know, having the internal knowledge, I can still tailor my analysis a little bit based on what I heard to our business objectives. But that's been a great way. And just seeing just how many people actually come back and say, wow, that was really cool, and I try to keep my show reels down to about 5 minutes, which is sometimes hard in a big study, with multiple questions. But my contact at Vox Pop Me, she's really helped us to create really good show reels and all the different things that we can do. Sometimes I'm not always the biggest fan of word clouds, but if I can make a good one, I'll include that in the video as well, or even just include bullet points and just kind of really tailor it to what we're working on. And it's been super well received. And so, yeah, I don't plan on stopping anytime soon for that reason.
That's wonderful. It's great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And, you mentioned it earlier on in the conversation that a big challenge is, you guys on the insights team or, researchers at a research firm are all excited
Mm-hmm.
about insights.
Yeah.
Is this like the way that you're disseminating this out with one page and a video as opposed to a 50-slide deck? Is that helping to get other people excited about what you're learning?
I think so. Yeah. That's just, again, it can sometimes be an uphill battle. Like on our team, we're the most important team in this organization. I mean, not really, but like, we just feel like, how can you make any decisions without us? And so I think being able to, again, humanize the insights and just make them feel, I don't know, it's just so easy to look at a number and not think that, a human was taking the survey, like, oh, 80% of consumers, who are these people, right? And to see the people right in front of you, I think has just really, really helped. And yeah, I mean, truly, we haven't had any negative feedback from the videos, and it really shows that people are watching them, and that it's just enough, right? They don't need all the data that's all, years ago, I would report out every single question I asked in a survey, whether or not it fit the story or not. It was, here you go, here you go, here you go, right? And that's just not what we need to do. And it's not what people have time for. Everyone is so busy. And especially now we're all coming back to work and priorities and all of these different things that it just has to be, I would say, short and sweet.
Yeah, it's interesting the transition from wanting to give out all the information of like, I asked 50 questions, here's the answer to all those 50 questions, versus everyone's pulled in so many different directions and only has so much time in the day. So what's the bare minimum amount of information that I need to make this decision, right?
Truly, yeah. And it's hard. It can be a struggle to try to, it's easier just to be like, here you go, like here's everything. But to be like, what's important, and really trying to think like outside of consumer insights perspective, like what's really going to help people make decisions, important decisions.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's hard. And, we talk about this when it comes to copywriting also, like it's really easy to write like an email that's 17 paragraphs and has all the information in there, but it's hard to write one that really gets the point across in one sentence or two sentences. And so this is the same, right? Like really distilling down the most important information into something someone can digest in a couple of minutes and then actually remember.
Right. Yeah, I think so too. And I've done a lot of research on not necessarily video, sometimes video of like 6-second ads. That was something that I researched a lot back, a few years ago, and just the importance of visuals. And visuals, we can remember easier and we can process easier. And so again, to see people, sometimes I even I can remember people like, oh, and remember she said that in that video, that was the woman with, oh yeah. And so we even talk about it that way sometimes of people in Vox Pop Me videos, right? And just like, oh, I loved it when that woman said that, or oh, remember that guy. And so it can be, I think, a really memorable way, like you said too, as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's going to be a lot when you can actually tie it to a face and a name. Then it's very different than seeing numbers on a page or a graph. Like you said, people kind of forget that there's real human beings behind that survey data. And this is like the reminder. Here's your people. These are the people that told you all this great information.
Totally. Yeah, and even, every time I'll sprinkle verbatims throughout a report, and everyone always loves that. But this is like next level verbatims, right?
Yeah.
It's a richness to it that, I mean, it's great. I could read through thousands of verbatims all day long. I love them so much, especially the really wacky ones. But um, but I think again too, just to like, this is the person who said that. It's not just someone behind a keyboard might be typing in all caps. Are they yelling at me? I don't know, And so are they yelling their response? And to see, yeah, again, just a real person. And it's like, okay, this is real. And yeah, I just think again, just without a number is one thing, but to hear someone telling their story and hearing like the inflection of their voice, all of these things really do matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And as so many companies are trying to be more customer centric and co-create and really bring their customers into their processes, that's so important. It's so important to be that close to them.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. This has been a really fun conversation, and I'm so pleased to hear about the success that you guys at Dish are having working with us. You're a great partner, a longtime partner, and we're thrilled to work with you. It's great to dig a little deeper on some of the stuff you guys are working on.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. Don't forget to rate and review our show wherever you listen to podcasts. On the next episode, I'll be joined by Michelle Gainsley of McDonald's. We'll see you then.